welcome to NDTV Profit. I am Hiral Dadia, and there is a big news with regards to where the sugar industry is concerned, where now the government has asked the mills not to use sugarcane juice for ethanol output in 2023-24, and this is going to be from immediate effect, and the supply of ethanol from existing offers received by OMCs from B-heavy molasses will continue. Now let's understand what would this actually mean for sugar companies, because ethanol production has come in as a boon, and actually we've seen a turnaround to the industry as well. Joining us on the show to discuss more on this is Mr. Atul Chaturvedi, Executive Chairman of Sri Renuka Sugars. Mr. Chaturvedi, welcome to the show. Your first reaction to the, to what the government has come out with regards to stopping usage of sugarcane juice to make ethanol?
My first reaction is one of relief, because what we were hearing since yesterday was that all ethanol made out of cane juice as well as B-heavy molasses would not be permitted going forward. But now what we are seeing in the notification is that only cane juice ethanol has been banned effective today. So whatever has been produced till now from cane juice against government's oil marketing company's orders, so that would continue to be supplied. But henceforward, only B-heavy ethanol will have to be made, and this is largely because the government in their own judgment feels that the sugar availability in the country could be lower going forward. As of today, there's absolutely no issue whatsoever, but the government feels it might happen at a later date. And this would actually mean that we were penciling in a production of about 29 million tons for sugar. Now with cane juice not getting diverted to ethanol, we could probably see a production increase of sugar by about 2 to 2.5 million tons. So now we will start penciling in 31 to 31.5 million tons of sugar production this year. As far as B-heavy is concerned, so units which were making from cane juice will now switch over to B-heavy. So there shouldn't be too much of an issue whatsoever.
Okay, so Mr. Chaturvedi, if you could help us understand, ethanol coming from B-heavy molasses versus ethanol coming from sugarcane juice, how much of it comes from either of them, to understand the breakup? If there was 100, what percentage comes in from B molasses as well as, and what percentage comes in from sugarcane juice currently?
The B-heavy molasses is effectively molasses which are doped with cane juice. So B-heavy molasses, obviously the production would be marginally lower compared to cane juice. I don't have the numbers exactly offhand, but marginally production loss will definitely be there, because cane juice production will now not be relevant. So the industry would only be making out of B-heavy. So you will probably have more sugar getting made, and overall availability should of cane juice might, overall availability of ethanol might come off a bit.
Okay, and from a production perspective, you have majority of the companies who have invested heavily in terms of where capex goes when you talk about ethanol production is concerned. If you talk about capacity over the past 5 years, does that change anything from a capex perspective? And do you think it could hit sugarcane companies on that front?
No, whatever capex have already come in, so that will have to stay. But definitely, going forward, you could possibly see lack of investment coming into this sector for sure. And that, in any case, should affect the government's target of 20% blending of ethanol by 2025. So there could be a little bit of a problem in achieving that 20% blending target, for sure.
Okay, and
but who knows? Who knows if tomorrow the cane availability improves and next year crop is very good, the government might just revert back to the whole system. So this is not something which is, as of today, sacrosanct for all times to come.
Yeah. Right, but how predictable would this be? Because predictability in terms of incurring capex, expanding production capacity for ethanol, all of this goes for a toss from a corporate India perspective for sugar companies, right? So,
whatever has happened has already happened. But obviously, people will think twice before now putting in investment in ethanol for the time being, for sure.
Okay.
And that goes without saying.
Okay. So, Mr. Chaturvedi, the other thing is, in the month of August itself, the concept of flex fuel was announced as well, right? Which is, again, the same thing in terms of petrol and ethanol blending. And the idea that Mr. Gadkari had said was that petrol prices could probably actually go down significantly if flex fuel picks up. Is this something which will not happen then?
Difficult to say as of today. As of today, the availability of ethanol will definitely come off a bit. But who knows? Going forward, things might change. But one should be sure that when push comes to shove, and if the government has to decide between food versus fuel, the vote will always be in favor of food instead of fuel. Though I would just like to add that as of today, the sugar availability and the sugar prices within the country are quite comfortable, and we have no fears of sugar prices rising too much or sugar availability getting into trouble going forward. So probably government knows something which we all were not privy to, which is what has prompted this decision.
Okay. And from a corporate perspective, how big a hit could this be in terms of profitability to the industry?
No, I don't think it's going to be too much of a hit, for the simple reason that it's ethanol, the industry, for the industry perspective, it's either ethanol or sugar. It's not sugar plus ethanol. So if we are not making ethanol, we would be making more sugar.
Correct, but wouldn't the margins with regards to ethanol... Right, but Mr. Chaturvedi, wouldn't the margins with regards to ethanol be better than margins for sugar?
No, they used to be better for sure when the sugar prices were about 31, 32. But sugar prices are no longer 31, 32. Sugar prices are about 36, 37. And at that price, ethanol and the sugar realization is more or less same, not much of a difference.
Okay. So for Shri Renuka as well, if you have to look at, ethanol made from bee molasses versus ethanol made from sugarcane juice, what's the breakup looking like?
No, we'll have to do this sum. We have just received the notification half an hour back. So now we'll have to go back to the drawing board and look at the numbers again. I think it's a little early for me to comment on that. We'll have to probably relook at our numbers and then maybe in a position to comment.
Sure. And my last question coming to you is, do you think that the industry will make any further recommendations to the government, or the discussions have already happened between sugar companies, that's the industry, as well as the government on the same earlier?
No, the industry will continue to talk to the government and see that the health of the industry remains robust, because if the health of the industry comes down, obviously it's going to affect not only the industry but also the farmers and the capacity of the industry to pay FRPs and all. So I think, and with so much of investment done as far as ethanol is concerned, so I think definitely the industry will continue to have a dialogue and try and ensure that the government's fears are attended to, and it's not an issue as far as the availability and pricing of sugar is concerned. So I'm sure definitely the industry would talk to the government for sure.
Right. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chaturvedi, so much for joining us on the show to discuss the same and giving us a little bit of clarity as to what this would mean as well. So that's Sri Renuka Sugar clearly indicating that somewhere this has come in as a relief, because earlier the industry was hearing of, rumors where ethanol made from sugarcane juice plus bee molasses that could be stopped. But now they've come out with a notification saying that ethanol that is made from sugarcane juice is only what is stopped. Yes, there will be a marginal production loss that will come in, and the 20% blending of ethanol with petrol, the target of the government, is something that will be difficult to achieve because of the availability of ethanol. Though the industry is not seeing any major issues with regards to the availability of sugar as well as the prices of sugar, they're saying that we're pretty happy with both of it. But probably the government knows something that probably the industry does not know, and hence the government has taken this step, and they will continue to make recommendations and have a dialogue with the government as to what could be the next step from here on. And the capex that has been incurred so far will continue, but additional capex is something that will come off for the sugar industry. So that's the commentary coming in from Sri Renuka. But let's also welcome in Mr. M. Manickam, Chairman and Managing Director at Sakthi Sugars. Mr. Manickam, welcome to the show. Your first comments with regards to the notification that has come in from the government with regards to stopping of usage of sugarcane juice to make ethanol, but continuity of ethanol that could be made from bee molasses.
Yeah, I mean, this is expected, actually. We were expecting that they would do this if there's a shortage of sugar. So I think that's what they've done.
Okay. And what would this actually mean for the industry?
See, those people who invested heavily for this kind of option would suffer. And we don't know how long this is going to last. So this is going to be something which is probably, going to be likely. But we should have probably created a buffer last year, of sugar if we anticipated a problem. But they were thinking that there will never be a shortage of sugar, which has been the reason I think we have not really created a buffer of sugar in hand.
Okay. And overall, how do you think does this impact? Because if you see the breakup of ethanol that is made from sugarcane juice versus ethanol made from bee molasses, how does that look like for the industry?
That's not really much, But see, what happens is those people who have gone for juice, ethanol from juice, have gone for a complete plant based on juice. They will be affected. So this may be about 5 or 10 plants, not everybody. So it depends upon those people who have taken this option and invested money in it. They would be really affected.
Okay. And overall from here on, do you think that the capex of the sugar companies that were planned for the future as well for ethanol production from sugarcane will come off substantially?
See, I mean, what is happening is substantially, if you look at the sugar industry, there's been no change of policy for the last 60, 70 years, regardless of whichever government which came in. Right? There was an anticipation that we are looking at a more stable policy now, which has also gone back to, back and forth kind of policy. So investments in this sector will be cautious. I mean, I don't think in the South, none of us have really gone for ethanol because we were not comfortable with the policy even to begin with. So most of us did not go for ethanol because we already suffered with policy on cogeneration, which happened about 10 years back. So we were bitter with that, so we didn't really go. So, but a lot of the plants in the north have gone for the investment. They would probably be affected by this at this point of time.
Right. And what happens, Mr. Manickam, with regards to the government's 20% ethanol blending target?
The government should answer that.
But do you think we will be able to meet that, or do you think ethanol made from bee molasses will not be enough to meet that?
There will not be enough to meet that. There will not be. See, what is going to happen also if the sugar production is going to go down, molasses also will be reduced. So the alcohol will be just enough to even cover the potable alcohol. You may not even come into ethanol. So there will be a shortage for ethanol.
Okay. And do you think this requires a dialogue with the government, or do you think this is something which will not really make a difference? Because even if the government comes back in case the sugar production increases, your sugarcane production increases in the coming months or a year from now, the capex would have stopped. So, I mean, it's a catch-22 situation, right?
It's a catch-22, and it depends upon what kind of capex is coming long term, or what kind of banks are funded, whether they're going to pull the plug. You know, a lot more depends upon the situation. It's not going to be a single, company which is going to take the call, the sector call. So it depends upon who's going to make the call, whether the investors or the banks. That's going to be the major issue.
Right. And any impact that Sakthi Sugar sees out of it?
We have, in fact, as I mentioned, we are very skeptic about this. So we are not making any investment for making alcohol either from bee molasses or from juice. So we don't have an impact on this.
Right. All right, Mr. Manickam, thank you so much for joining us at NDTV Profit and sharing your views. So clearly, from what Mr. Manickam is saying, the announcement is pretty much on the expected line, something that the industry anticipated. Companies who've actually invested heavily with regards to ethanol production are the ones who are going to suffer. However, the southern-based companies have not really gone towards manufacturing of ethanol because they've suffered with the old policies of the government. And the industry was looking at more stable policies with regards to sugar because for the last 60 to 70 years that has not changed, and now taking into consideration this change, the investments in the sector could take a hit. That's a major one, and the government's ethanol blending target of 20% is something that will not be met. Banks funding, that could be, the banks could actually pull the plug on that front as well. So a lot of ramifications that the sugar industry could see on this. Overall, the way the stocks open as well is going to be interesting to watch out for. That's all that we have on this session. Thanks for watching, and lots more lined up on the other side. Please stay tuned to NDTV Profit.